Hello and welcome to the first ever episode of the WildTalk podcast with myself, Corey, and our co-host Dan. This is our brand new podcast to the UK, chatting about all things wild. Hello, Dan.
Hello, you said co-host, but it was actually my idea.
Yeah, I know. Well, there's no I or anything in this. It's so
This
it's
is
all it's all it's
there's
all
no I
equal.
in there's no I in team, is there, mate?
There's no I in team. So yeah, correct. So yeah, this is Dan's idea. But I'm sure we'll get onto that pretty shortly because if we get onto it now, we'll end up on a tangent again for 4 hours.
Yeah, that's our speciality. Tangents and
Yeah.
waffling a load of rubbish. Um,
Yeah, which I suppose in some cases is all right, but when we're on a bit of a time schedule, it's probably not the best way to do things.
Absolutely not. No one wants to listen to 4 hours of us waffling a load of rubbish. Or maybe
Yeah,
they
especially when
do.
it gets
Maybe they do.
maybe
Never
yeah
know.
maybe we start the podcast as a
A,
wild
me a
related.
means to go on, waffling
Exactly,
rubbish for
yeah.
4 hours and then chucking a bit of wildlife in there every now and
It's like when you're on a night out in the smoking area and you just meet some random bloke next to you,
then. This is what this podcast is.
solving well politics and stuff like that with some
Yeah,
random blokes that you'll never see ever again.
we are the old man in a camouflage coat in the corner with a scruffy beard, just chatting absolute rubbish to you.
Yeah, tell me what year we started bedding and stuff like that.
Yeah, one of them ones.
Yeah, that's back on topic.
Yeah, there you go. Look at that, full circle.
Yeah. So how have you been?
I've been well, mate. How about you? You been good?
Yeah, I've been all right. Like as we discussed prior to this, I'm currently sprawled out on the sofa with my koala Udi on. So
Lovely.
I've been comfier.
Very nice. I've got pheasant socks on, if that's where we're going with that.
Yeah, not my go-to bird really. If I saw socks of any bird, I don't think it'd be
Okay.
a pheasant, but
It was just a rubbish Christmas present. I probably shouldn't say that it was a rubbish Christmas present in case the person who bought it is listening to this. So if they are, it was a great Christmas present. Thank you.
who bought you it?
I can't remember.
Yeah, well, that shows how important that person is.
Somebody, somebody bought it. I'm not sure who, but cheers.
We, we all get them weird Christmas presents that don't we? Like that are you open it and you just kind of pull that face of like oh like do you know, like when the person
Oh,
wins the
thanks.
do you watch Tipping Point?
I do watch Tipping Point. Yeah,
Do you know the prizes from the mystery counters?
yeah, yeah.
Like
I do.
congratulations, you have won a weekend away learning how to knit.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, great. Cheers.
I watched one the other day, and the prize was one of those Doro phones. Now I've got to be careful on what I say about these phones because obviously for a living, those who don't know, I sell phones. They're fantastic phones, but the guy who won it was about 25 years old, and I don't think I've ever seen somebody look so disgusted in my life.
I mean,
But I
I've
try not.
never even heard of him, but yeah, I probably would as well.
Yeah, yeah. Let's. I think that's a conversation for another day. The Doro phones. I would never stop talking about them.
Look at that for a tangent. We've gone from wildlife to phones in 30 seconds.
Yeah, yeah. It's a sign of things to come.
It's what we're
Uh,
good
but
at. It's
speak
what we're good at.
exactly, yeah. But speaking of things to come, I think we should move on a little bit
Yeah.
and have a bit more of an introduction to the podcast. So crack on, Dan. Let everybody know what this is all about.
So this was a idea I cooked up about six months ago, was it, Corey? Might have been even
Back in
longer actually
September,
than that.
I think September was the first phone call I had about it.
Yeah, and then then it was an idea floating around in my head for a couple of months before then. Um, it's just a podcast about everything wildlife, everything nature related. We'll get guests on, which I'm sure in a few minutes we will gloat about. Maybe is gloat the right word?
I don't want to gloat
I don't want to
because,
gloat,
but
but
the lineup. I mean, we have already completed series one already.
series
Like
one
we
is
we
done.
we weren't even expecting to have a series. It was just going to be like, yeah, we'll give it a go, see how it goes, and we've lined up
I
some.
honestly expected maybe a couple of episodes would get lined up, and then we'll see. Kind of go from there and see what the audience thought of the whole thing. But yeah, to finish an entire series before episode one has even gone out is yeah,
Yeah, we're
pretty
absolutely
amazing.
stoked about that.
Yeah, it's
I
pretty
mean,
amazing.
the thing is as well, every single guest I think is so so different, but just as good as each other.
Oh,
Um,
100%. Some of the guests are, unique in their own ways with, what they do. But yeah, absolutely amazing. And I can't wait to chat to them all.
yeah, I was pretty blown away. I mean, I don't want to toot my own horn or anything like that, but I mean, I think I've done quite well in terms of the guest side of things.
Yeah, you've absolutely smashed the guests. I think I probably would have got less good guests on for the first series, just because yeah, I don't have as many great contacts as you do, mate.
It's just getting out there, innit? Especially with what we're bringing as well, because we've both had a good listen, and I mean, there's a few things that I listen to similar to this. So back when I was a zookeeper, in the morning, my manager at the time introduced me to I think it was on the BBC. So they did like a podcast each morning. It was all completely different, but every now and again they'd have something really interesting. Like I mentioned to you the other day, there was a bloke that came on who was a specialist in animal behaviour, and he discussed
Yeah,
the behaviour of red deers and the rutting season and stuff like that. And just me listening to that for an hour and a half, I thought was absolutely fantastic. So to have something where we can kind of bring that every week, I think we're onto something with it, or at least we'll see. Anyways, I think it's going to go in the right direction for it there. And we've had so much
absolutely.
interest already.
Oh, the interest has been crazy. So there'll be episodes with guests, and there'll be episodes with just me and Corey discussing a topic. Suggestions from the audience as well. I think Corey would be a great idea on topics to discuss. Um, yeah, it opens it up to the
Yeah,
audience, and you know, it it lets them, oh, it lets us know what they want to listen to rather than what we think they want to listen to.
yeah, exactly. You see too much nowadays where it's just this script of nonsense, and
Mm.
there's only so many times in a row you can kind of listen to the same sort of thing. So I think by having that opportunity for people to give a bit of an input and by mixing the guests up massively, we're sticking to the subject of wild and nature and along that line, but we're also
But it's what they want to hear
widening
rather
it.
than what we think they want to hear, which is always
Exactly,
better.
yeah. And we're not holding back as well. I mean, we've got quite a lot of controversial stuff coming up as well, which I think, especially in like, obviously, I know it's a general wild related podcast, but with us both being quite keen wildlife photographers, a lot of it's going to be focused around that. And you know as well as I do that the wildlife photography scene and a lot of the people in it, it can just be very controversial.
Oh, it can. And there's, like you say, there are a few topics which we will discuss, and we will have people on to talk to about which will be deemed controversial. I'm sure they will bring with it some lovely views from people
And
that will.
it's all going to be informal as well. It might be controversial, but it's not something
It's
for
not.
us
It's not a
to,
debate. We're not going to be sat for an hour listening to an argument from either side of the party. It's just yeah, general chit chat.
however interesting that would be,
It would
it would reflect
be.
well.
There are a few people that I would like to put in a room together, a virtual room together, and listen to the for and against arguments on certain practices.
Yeah, it would be good, but the problem is, again, without maybe sounding too insulting or anything like that, is that these controversial subjects and a lot of the opinions that come from them are just so uneducated. So we've probably made the effort to make sure the guests that are coming on are highly educated on said topic. So we're getting, rather than a biased opinion, we're getting an educated opinion, and well, not even an opinion, I'd say the actual true facts.
Yeah, exactly. The last thing people want to listen to is a podcast that doesn't have the most intelligent views on it. But then
No,
again,
I mean
me and you are both hosting a podcast, so
exactly.
there's,
Smart things have happened.
yeah, worse things have happened, or better things have happened, should I say?
I'm not going to brandish as experts. And I said the other day I probably wouldn't bring this up, but here I am bringing it up.
Oh,
The
here we
word
go.
expert the word expert gets thrown around too much, far too much. So the whole point of this as well is you don't have to be an expert to have these sort of conversations. You should have a bit of common sense about you.
Absolutely, and a love for the great outdoors, wildlife photography,
And
whatever
that's what it's all about, isn't it?
that is all it's about. You don't have to have a degree. You don't have to claim you're an expert. You don't have to have, a fantastic subject knowledge or a wide array of subject knowledge. But as long as you share the interest, then yeah,
And as long as you
it's
live
great.
up to that as well, I think people want to hear people talk that kind of earn up to their knowledge and don't pretend to be somebody they aren't. Because especially now more than ever, education is so important within wildlife and conservation. You can't just preach something without that backup, without that expertise as such.
Absolutely.
And hence again, some of the guests that we've got on, the reason why I've reached out to them, the reason why we've chosen them is because they have that solid backup to basically call themselves an expert, which is what we want. So moving on, should we let's not use the word brag, but should we go through some of our that are coming on?
I was just about to say you've led quite nicely into discussing what guests that we will, well, the guests that we've got booked. Um, do you want to say them all, or do you want to just give a little teaser to who's going to be coming on? Let's
Um,
kick it off. Let's kick it off with our first guest.
So our first guest, that's going to be on the next episode. We have got some of you might know him, some of you might not. He does like to keep himself to himself a little bit. He's a very lovely bloke.
He is.
I'll just give you a heads up as well. If you do not speak Scottish, we have no sort of translation method, so you're just gonna have to learn quickly because he's deep
Yeah.
Scottish.
Or you might
But
have to listen. You might have to listen a couple of times just to get it.
we have Chris Reed joining us from Speyside Snaps. So he's very, very well known for his work with goshawks.
The Goshawk
And
King, I would argue, is a
a
is a
hundred, a hundred
is an
percent. I mean,
is a good accolade for him.
don't get me wrong, there are some other people in the UK that offer some brilliant goshawk hides and things
Oh,
like that. But
absolutely. But yeah,
I think the effort Chris has gone through, and with recent events as well, that which I won't get into, we'll let Chris chat about that. But the recent events that have taken place, yeah, he's just a brilliant person to have on, and I think for our first guest, he's gonna be hard to beat as well. With probably some of the conversations we're gonna have in regards to these recent events.
absolutely, absolutely. I think he's a great first guest to have on the podcast. And yeah, like you
Yes.
say, an amazing person and photographer as well.
If you're listening to this, Chris, we're not trying to blow smoke up your ass or
Yeah,
anything like
yeah.
that.
I know you might not be able to get your head through the door now, Chris, but yeah, quality work.
Yeah. Do you want to move on to our next guest, Dan?
Um, yes or no? Weirdly,
Oh, a bit of suspense.
a bit of suspense. Now, obviously, anybody listening to this podcast will probably have seen the pretty big guest that we've got lined up for March. Um, but I'm not going to talk about that yet. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about a bloke that has worked his backside off creating probably one of the best hides in the UK. Who do you think that might be, Corey?
It's got to be Mr. Mick Batley.
It has to be Mr. Mick Batley. It has to
It,
be. Now, I'm not only saying this because the hides are literally 10 minutes away from my house, which is extremely handy, um, and makes my life incredibly easy in the
hell,
summer. Um, but no, like I say, the work he has done to build what he's built in, I'm not going to say a short period of time, but
a lot shorter than what some
a lot
people would
shorter.
do.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
Yeah, I visited his hides for the first time a couple of weeks ago, as you've seen, and I mean, like, I don't use commercial hides a lot, not because I don't agree with them. I think done correctly, they're absolutely fantastic, not just for photographers but for
absolutely.
wildlife. But Mix is one that I will definitely be visiting a few times. Just simply like you said, because of the work that he's put into it. He's put a substantial amount of graft into it. It's different in terms of the variety of perches. I mean,
I think the word variety is where we go with it because the variety of perches is great, but the variety of species all visiting one hide is phenomenal.
oh God, I mean, in so by I arrived at about 7 a.m. Mick was brilliant enough to pick me up from Leeds train station and take me to the hide. And by 8 a.m., I'd had male and female kestrel, I had woodpecker, I had jackdaws, magpies, greenfinch, goldfinch, bullfinch, buzzards, llamas. bloody
Llamas,
llamas.
bloody
Oh,
llamas.
sorry, alpaca.
Oh, sorry, they are alpacas, aren't they? Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
thought
I
I
mean,
was losing my mind when I watched one walk directly past the hide window.
yeah, I mean, but like he literally said to me, "Oh yeah, we get barn owls all the time," and I was like, "Yeah, a lot of hides say that, but you can't prove it." And he went, "Look, it's there," and it was just sat there, just there as I got there. I was like, "Oh, fair enough." So yeah, Mick Batley is guest number two.
He is, and I'm really excited to get him on. Especially from the perspective of a new commercial hide owner as well. So we can
And it's
talk.
that controversy that we was talking about of commercial hides.
Exactly, they bring a lot of negativity with them, and again, like you said, Corey, it stems down to a poor education sometimes, or just personal views and stuff that's been sort of spoon fed to them over the years. But yeah, it would be great to get Mick on. He can discuss all about the highs and the lows and the struggles that he's had working on both his hides because he's opened a second one now, hasn't he?
Yes, yeah. I'm looking forward to that one. So I'm gonna skip a few guests now, not because I don't want to talk about them, because I think each and every guest is absolutely fantastic, but I don't want to
Absolutely.
give too much away. Obviously, we'll give a little bit of announcement on the Instagram. The next guest I want to talk about is probably I don't want to say our biggest guest, simply because, like I say, every single guest is appreciated just as much as each other. However, I think from my point of view, as somebody that studied zoology at university, worked as a zookeeper, had that more educational side of wildlife things, this guest is huge for me. And who do you think that is going to be, Dan?
I'm gonna guess now. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm gonna go with the lovely Megan McCubbin.
100%. Megan is, if you don't know who she is, she's the stepdaughter of Chris Packham, who you'll see on all the UK nature programs. Megan herself hosts a lot of them. She does a lot of stuff on Instagram, YouTube, recently on Animal Life, Animal Park, Animal Life. I feel really bad for getting those two names mixed up.
Oh well.
I don't watch much TV anymore, unfortunately. She has done animal behaviour work across the planet. She's also studied zoology. She is just, I think, for her age as well, she's only 3 years older than myself, so she's 27, 28, and she's just accomplished
Oh yeah.
so much.
Do we need to fact check that in case she listens to this?
I'm gonna, I am,
have we just potentially insulted somebody by getting their age wrong?
no, I don't think I've got her age. I don't think I've got her age wrong.
Good. Would you like me to check while you continue talking?
It's okay. I did. Yeah, yeah, I was right. She's 3 years
Oh,
old, 3 years
right.
older than me,
Sweet.
and she's all right.
Good.
She looks. I mean, you've seen how my hairline's going in the bags under my eyes from having my lovely kids. She looks a lot younger than me as well, so please don't take offense from that. But yeah, I mean, she's a fantastic guest for us to have on. I'm really looking forward to the educational side of that. Talking to an actual expert, not someone that just goes around saying, "Yeah, I'm an expert," because I can
Yeah.
tell you the difference between a tree sparrow and a house sparrow. No, she's an expert because she is a literal expert. And I had a bit of an idea earlier on. I thought
Oh, this is off the cuff, guys. I have not heard any
to
of this.
show her true expertise as well. I'm gonna piece together a little quiz for her. I'm not gonna give it
Oh,
away because I don't want it to have any homework. I'm gonna quiz her on the spot. And me and
oh.
you are going to also do that quiz um prior to the podcast so we can compare scores and watch
Ah,
it.
I
Kick
like that.
our ass.
I like that. And
Just something a little bit interesting.
I think we also said we were going to post out a potential Q&A for her as well from the audience. So yeah, if
Yes.
any of you guys have got
Um,
any questions for her that you want answering, then yeah, just ping them over. We'll put a post on Instagram and everything just
we'll
before
do
that.
our best. We can't read all of them out, and please make sure they're relevant and to the topic.
Yeah, not like
She,
what's your favorite food or stuff
yeah.
like that.
How much wood could a woodchuck chuck? Them sort of things. No, we want
Because no one
proper
knows the answer.
questions.
No one knows the answer to that.
Exactly.
A lot.
A lot.
That's all I'm going
Yeah.
with. A lot.
But yeah, I'm super excited about that. It's because it's not only for what she stands for. It's because for me as somebody that wants to pursue the career path. Obviously now I've worked in the industry. and now I know where I want to be, which is in more the filmmaking and the TV side of things. It's just a bit of an inspiration for myself as well. So absolutely, really, really looking forward to Megan coming on. I think we'll announce one more guest. I reckon.
Go on.
I'll and you.
Who do you want to announce?
Oh, right, okay. So those of
Who?
you who don't know me personally, I run a YouTube channel, albeit it's not a successful YouTube channel, but I do okay. And there was a few inspirations. So I'm going to announce two guests here,
Go for it.
because both of them throughout my journey leading up to YouTube and my journey so far have not only inspired a lot of well inspired me to do YouTube, but both of them have been absolutely fantastic people in offering me advice, taking time out of the day to have good chats with me, and also just being good friends as well. So the first one's Richard Birchett. He will be coming on in March to chat about the work that he does, his early life, and obviously his YouTube channel and stuff that's coming up. Fantastic photographer, absolutely one of the nicest blokes you'll ever meet or ever speak to. So yeah, he's going to be on the 10th of March. And then the next one, I've got Richard Campion from My Wildlife Images. Young photographer. He's again another all-round kind of great, chatty, friendly bloke. Produces some unreal content. So yeah, he's going to be the second YouTuber guest. We'll leave it there.
Yeah,
We won't announce anymore. But yeah, out of those guys, along with all the other guests that are coming on, every single one of them are just
they're
we're quite honoured to have them on.
yeah, we're honored, and they're unique in their own way, and you know, doing really well in their fields. So yeah, I'm really looking
That's it.
forward to it.
That's it. Just while we're on the kind of not topic of guests as such, but people that are getting involved, I just want to give a couple of thanks to people as well. In the
Absolutely.
lead up to into our first episode. So the first thanks I want to give is to my good friend Dan Hoss for not only actually no, I know the ruins, but then I'm not going to ruin that.
Yeah, don't ruin it. I know where you were going with that. Don't ruin
Yeah,
that.
yeah. No, Dan has really kindly pieced together all of our our announcement posters. He's done a really good, quick job for us. Much better than what I produced. What I produced looked like a 4-year-old had just been given Photoshop and told to go nuts. So he's the first guy I want to give real good thanks to. And then another Dan, my friend Dan Stockdale. He has what you'll listen to at the start of the podcast, the introduction music. He does this professionally as well. He does this as a business, and because he's such a good friend of mine, he was kind enough to do it for us for free, and even offer to sort our audio out and stuff as well. So yeah, big thanks to both them too.
Absolutely, and I'm sure we'll drop their links on our various social media pages as well, so you can go check out the stuff
100%.
that they do.
Yeah, well, Dan Hoss actually,
Going back to guests, very briefly.
yeah. Well, I mean, we didn't announce him, but I might as well. Dan's coming on at some point in the future.
He
We've
is.
got him booked in for March. To chat about his stuff that he does as beekeeping. And I'm pretty sure they sell their own organic honey. So yeah, if you want some organic honey, Dan's the person to go to. It's so confusing because we've only spoke about a couple of people, and half of them have been called Dan, including yourself.
Yeah, you've got me, and then you've got yeah. Yeah, there's
But
like yeah, there's three Dans already on the pod. Before yeah, we've even had any others on.
just to separate myself and Dan as well, Dan has a West Yorkshire accent, I have an East Yorkshire accent. That's just going to
Yeah,
be the easiest way
so
to
yeah,
separate.
that's the best way to go. So I've got the proper Yorkshire accent, and then yeah, Corey's is kind of like the yeah, not so proper Yorkshire accent.
Yeah, man's a naff accent. I'm not a big fan of it. I do like the West Yorkshire accent. It's
Oh,
quite sexy.
oh, thank you. Oh, it's very
You
very happy
like
to hear.
a rugby league Harry Potter?
Yeah, that's probably the best way, but I'm not
Yeah.
built. I'm not built like a rugby league player. I'm
No,
built
you
like
built like
Harry
Harry
Potter.
Potter. Dan looks a double of Harry Potter, which I'll pop up on. I'll put it on the thumbnail maybe. I don't know. We'll see. I'll share it.
Yeah, I think we need to stick our faces on the thumbnail of this episode at least.
Yeah, I
Well,
reckon probably.
we're sat here having the discussion, but the listeners already know that we've put
The thumbnail
the
out.
thumbnail up as our faces. So yeah,
Yeah.
time travel.
Right. So let's move away from guests. I'm trying to stop us
Absolutely.
from going on tangents. I mean, the whole point of this episode is to kind of discuss as us two where everything kind of began for us, what brought us to kind of this day, what set us up as wildlife photographers, as nature lovers, and the future goals that we've got. So go on, Dan. Tell everybody what why are you in the place that you are today? So where did it begin for yourself?
Where did it begin? So
Just tell everybody how
fast
old you are as
forward.
well.
I'm 26 years old, 27 this year. Where did it all start? So probably when I want to say when I was about 3, 4 years old, could be even earlier than that. I
Is that
would,
when you produced your first calendar?
yeah, mate, that's when I first, yeah, got Sigma shared my photo. That was like, yeah, 3 years old. Sorry, that was a disgusting flex, was that? That was horrific. I am so sorry. Um, yeah, probably about 3 or 4 years old, and I've got my grandparents, shout out them because they will probably be listening to this. I should probably specify which grandparents, my nan and my granddad, because yeah, I've got two. Um, we we would do so much in the garden, just like I'd help me nan with the gardening, me and my granddad would go out on walks. Um, they had a feeding station where we would just sit and watch like the wildlife for hours on end, just literally hours. So I'd say that's probably where the love for wildlife and the love for the outdoors came from. Um, how do you want to do this, mate? Do you want to then say where yours came from, and then we'll just both answer the question at the same time?
Yeah, yeah, I suppose, yeah.
So, Corey,
Um,
tell me, where did it all begin?
where did it all begin for me? Right, okay. So we had this brief discussion beforehand. I remember coming home from school at the age of about 6 years old and having Deadly 60 on the TV, and
Quality
it might not have been
program.
Deadly 60 back then. It would have been some. Obviously, I remember Steve Irwin, rest in peace. He was. I love watching a crocodile hunter growing up. Deadly 60, Steve Backshall, just watching that sort of stuff because my love for it all didn't actually start with nature as such. It came from exotics.
Yeah,
Um, so I love reptiles and bugs and stuff like that. I remember when I was 7 years old for Christmas, my dad got me Nick Baker's book with a bug hunting kit, so you could go out and identify your bugs. So I was just constantly out and about. When I was 8 years old, I found a corn snake in my back garden,
that's
and
cool.
again that just kept it going. And I just remember like we used to go camping a lot when I was kids, and the one thing that I would always be doing is watching out the window, see how many birds I could see how many deers I could see, and just being in absolute love with nature. I never grew up with the holidays abroad and stuff like that. We were proper 3 times a year, would go camping, no matter what the weather or anything like that. And it was just amazing. And being out in nature and being exposed to that. So I suppose it's big thanks to my parents, to be fair. They kind of subconsciously and unknowingly sprung that upon me. Um, I won't go. We'll move on to the photography side of it in a second. But yeah, essentially that's where it all began for me. Just a young age, my parents kind of influencing my life in that sort of way.
And I think that's where quite a lot of people's love for nature and the love for the outdoors comes from. It stems from a young age. I know for
You
some
know, yeah,
people it stems from, improving their mental health. But yeah,
100%. And I think that's something. I think we'll touch upon that in a soon. Obviously the mental health side of things because it is a massive subject, and I'm sure obviously we have May the first week of May is Mental Health Awareness Week, so just kind of a bit of a taster. We're going to try and I didn't actually spoke about this week yet, Dan. It's in my schedule. I'd
oh,
love to get a couple of
it's in your
episodes.
it's in your schedule, but I've not seen it.
No, I've been stuck at home ill, haven't I?
Oh, go for
I've
it.
just been I've been working so much. So yeah, we'd love to get a couple of episodes of mental health
Absolutely.
awareness. We'll
Absolutely.
try and raise a bit of money
I
if we
think
can and
it,
stuff like that.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think it plays a massive part into people's love for getting out with the camera and not necessarily just, based all around wildlife photography. I mean, I think all aspects of photography,
All aspects of life,
are a good,
essentially.
yeah, and life, taking a walk in the park or, snapping photos of a tree, for example, it can all improve people's mental health and, it's
That's it.
people's coping mechanisms at the end of the day. But
You're
yeah,
right. We will talk about it now. We'll have a quick discussion on the mental.
yeah,
We won't go into it too much because it is
no,
a
no,
topic that we can
it,
spend hours talking about. But yeah, we'll have a quick discussion about that. And I'm sure a lot of people listening will, everybody listening will agree, because especially now with the awareness of it out there, there is there's that much awareness for it out there. People are more.
They're
I don't
more
know how to explain it.
they're more open to talking about it now, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't always say more open to talking about it, but people know what to look for. So
Yeah,
you know. So
absolutely. Yeah.
okay, let me give you an example. So obviously, myself, I've struggled with my mental health a lot over the years, and up until I was, I'd say 19, 20, I had no idea that was the case. I had no idea that's what I was struggling through. And I associated the feeling of anxiety with wanting cigarettes. I used to smoke. I don't anymore. I quit thanks to my wonderful partner. She forced me. But yeah, I every time I felt anxiety, I thought it was because I needed a cigarette. So I associate with that. And it wasn't until I want to say I must have been about 20. I was halfway through university. You see a lot more of it, and you realise that hang on a minute, it's not what I thought it was. So that's why hobbies such as wildlife photography, and so you'll agree with me now, is that cigarette for me back then. I mean,
Yeah.
we've been out on trips and stuff like that, and it doesn't matter what the trip is. It doesn't matter if we come home with a full SD card. It doesn't matter what. I think just that escape. For me, there's nothing more soothing, nothing more calming than sat there first thing in a summer morning, hearing like the birds call, and just knowing that there's nothing to worry about. It's just you and nature.
Yeah. I completely agree. I absolutely agree. Um, I think nature and it can be coupled with photography, but let's just go down the nature and the outdoor route helped a lot of people through lockdown, which was obviously, as everybody
So yeah,
knows, a massively tough time for a lot of people. Um,
that's it. Me and my
I know
missus.
myself. I know myself. What was it? An hour a day's exercise you could get. Was it something
Oh
like that?
yeah, but come on, let's all be real. Who the fuck's timed an hour? Me
Yeah,
and Susie, we'd go out for a walk with the cameras. Arrest me, I don't care. And we would be out for 7, 8 hours with the cameras because we was out in the middle of nowhere and we was just having fun. And not only did it help us through lockdown, like you was just saying, but I also reckon those days, because it was early days for our relationship. I think we'd only been together for 2 months before lockdown started. It was the
mm,
foundation of our relationship. I mean, we were we started off just as a casual couple, and then before we knew it, we had a lockdown. Susie moved in. We were both on furlough. What do? Do you sit in the house and get on top of each other, or do you go out and do something?
yeah, exactly. Um, I agree with you, mate. I didn't stay out for the allotted hour. Come for me now, Mr.
I'm
Government,
gonna
if
have the
you want.
COVID. I'm
But
gonna have the COVID police on our door. Matt Hancock is gonna give me a
yeah,
phone
yeah,
call in a month.
you'll be braying on the door, and yeah, on Friday. Like, you didn't stay out for an hour. How dare you?
I
But
suppose all this as well. It's not as such as where it all began, but it's definitely something can begin, but it can also end as well. And I reckon that the mental health side of it, however horrible it is for us to go through that, it also opens you up to the love for this. Like I'm very happy to say that now. I mean, I still have my issues. There's still things that tug at me, but because of obviously my partner, my kids, and my love for nature and wildlife photography, I'm in a much, much better place now. And it's a constant reminder of that as well. Hence why I love it even more. And you'll agree, and a lot of people will agree, having that positive to hold on to, and it just pushes you
100%,
to do it even more.
100%, absolutely, completely agree with you, mate. Well,
Yeah,
that was
it's
lovely. That was a nice little
it
topic
was.
to
And do you
talk
know what, right?
about, and
We'll get it up in the air now and that. Mental Health Awareness Week in May. We're gonna. I reckon we do a podcast a day, and each podcast will have a GoFundMe set up, and we will. I mean, I don't know if you've got Andy's Man Club near you.
yes, we do. Yeah, yeah.
So a fantastic charity for men's mental health awareness, which mental health is important no matter who it is, man, woman, child, dog, cat, whatever it is, whoever you
Anybody.
are, mental health is 100% important. But these are a fantastic charity, especially men's mental health awareness with how little men talk about things. Great charity.
Because we're rubbish when it comes to talking about things.
Oh God, yeah, wait till my wedding speech. But yeah, I think
I can't wait. That's the thing. I am. That is my 2023 highlight of the year before it's even begun.
but I think if we get a podcast a day done and we'll raise some money and we'll kind of focus it around mental health and just make it a platform for us to sit and chat about it all openly with no judgment and try and raise some money for a great charity in the process.
Absolutely. I think that's a fantastic idea.
Cool. I'm glad you agree. If anybody has any suggestions, if anybody wants to come on and chat about this, please let us know via your Instagram.
Yeah, absolutely. If photography and the great outdoors has been an outlet for you and your mental health and the positives, then yeah, feel free and we'll get you on for an episode.
Brilliant. So moving on, photography then. Where did photography begin for you?
Photography began for me, and I know exactly where and how old I was. I was 10 years old, and my grandma lent me her an Olympus bridge camera. It was only a little zoomy, crappy little thing. Sorry, Gran.
Piece of kit there.
I know you're listening, but it wasn't the best. And I took a photograph of a squirrel, which she still talks to this day. We've tried a million times to try find the image, but we just can't find it anywhere. It was at a park in Saltaire, which is near where I live. And yeah, that's where it kind of all stemmed from. Um, I'll be honest when I say I probably didn't pick a camera up properly after that till about 14 or 15 years old, maybe, when I bought my first little Nikon DSLR kit. I think it was a D3300. Is that
What a
even a...
camera.
do you know what? For an entry level camera, it was quality. Little
Remember that it's not the
3300.
we both know it doesn't matter what camera you own. We both know a couple of people with high end gear and stuff like that who cannot take a photo for
It's the old age saying in it. It's all the gear and no idea.
100%.
You
That is
give
photography,
and that
I
is photography, like you say. You give a poor, not a poor. If you give a low end camera setup to the best photographer, then they will make do and they will produce great stuff with it. But
that's it. And I mean, I don't want you to take offense by this, but when I first met you, you was only running a Nikon D7500 and a Sigma 150-600, wasn't you?
not even, mate. I was running a D7 100 and a Sigma
You
1.
was, yeah.
It was a 150 600 contemporary as well, so it wasn't even the sport model. And to add, the aperture blades were completely broken on it, so
But
I couldn't
but the
control any of
images you were
that.
producing, the images you were producing were spot on. And my really good friend Rob, obviously you know him. I've worked with him photography wise the past 6 years, and I've watched him go from the basic gear to now the Nikon Z9, and it's just proof that the images that he was taking back then were fantastic. The images that he takes now were still
Oh
fantastic.
yeah.
But he was doing the same thing back then. I mean, obviously the images that he produced now were a lot better quality because he's got a fantastic camera.
What has he got?
But
The eight.
again,
It's the 850 and the 500 PF, isn't it, or something like that?
he runs a Nikon Z9 with the D750. He's got
Yes,
500 PF, 300 PF, 200 to 500, and a
some
couple of lenses.
absolutely quality pieces of
Oh
glass
yeah,
in
I
them.
mean,
Absolute quality.
but he's fully dedicated to what he does, which is what the industry needs. It's what the hobby needs. Is people like I'd say people like us. I'm very happy to say that I'm dedicated to what I do. I know you are. I know Rob, which we'll get on the podcast at some point. He's very
Yeah, well,
dedicated to what he
yeah,
does.
absolutely. We'll get Rob on.
But again, it's just proof that seeing what I mean. Rob took me to photograph my first ever kingfisher. Looking back at the images then on the gear that it was taken on, it was no fancy gear, but his images were brilliant. Looking at your images from when you was using that setup, the images are brilliant. It doesn't matter what gear you've got, but
It's as long as you've
it's
got the
what.
dedication to improve and the willing to improve, you can make any camera system work for you.
Dan, just real quickly,
Go for it.
we've done it again.
Done what?
We've gone on a tangent.
Have we just got onto like camera gear without you answering where your photography journey started?
We have, yeah, we have, we
We've
have,
just started. We've gone full circle and gone back to guests that we're going to have on. Um,
yeah. Which isn't confirmed with Rob yet. He's got a very
it's
busy schedule
yes,
ahead.
very
Me and
very
him,
busy.
me and him have got a Brokeback mountain style holiday coming up next week. So I'm sure in between the activities we'll be able to discuss that.
That's cute.
Yeah,
If
it
you
is. I
manage
do love
to
Man and Rob trips.
if you manage to leave your hotel room.
No, I don't think we will.
No, I don't think you will either. Um,
The last trip we was there for 2 weeks and we managed 3 days of wildlife.
wow, Jesus.
Yeah. Right. So where did it all
So,
begin for me? So,
tangents. Go on, mate.
so shout out to my first ever girlfriend. When I was
Ciao.
14. 14. She earned a Canon 1100D, if I remember correctly, and we went out on a trip to Scarborough, and I photographed the squirrels and stuff in the Scarborough Park, and that was it. I've just been in love with photography since, as easy as that. She had a camera, she was into photography, and that put it onto me. I mean, I kind of enjoyed taking a few photos of my phones and stuff beforehand. Like if you check one of my old Instagram pages from when I was 11, when Instagram first came out, there's a lot of my early photography on there.
God, did it
And it was,
really come out that long ago?
I think, yeah, yeah, God, how
Wow,
old was that? I must be 12, 13, maybe. I don't
that's
know.
crazy.
But yeah, 10 years ago, I did my first proper photography. And then, yeah, just spiral from there. I got my first camera when I was, so it was just before my eldest son was born. I got a camera and went out photographing like just local wildlife and landscape, and then got a bit of a gig photographing for Hull FC rugby team, which disgusted me as a huge Hull Kingston Rovers fan. But yeah, I did that, and then I ended up going out with Rob, and that's just spiraled to today.
So has it always been wildlife that you've sort of gravitated
I mean,
towards?
obviously, I photograph a lot of weddings, especially like last year, this year. I do enjoy my weddings. I do like my landscape, my astrophotography, long exposure, but primarily wildlife for me, and that stems from my love for nature, my love for wildlife.
Hmm.
Even like say, throughout 2020, what year are we now? 23. So 2021, I was a zookeeper around what nature all the time, and a day didn't go where I wasn't taking a photo of the animals that we had in there.
Yeah.
I mean, me and you, we went on our first trip. Obviously, I went in the location to photograph long-eared owls. I want to say 2020.
God, it might have been, 2020.
It it must have been. It
It was
must have been
summer. It
2020.
was summer 2020, and I can probably find the exact date because I'll have um files of no owls because, and I'm sure the person listening, which the person will be listening, but I got my camera walked in front of about 20 times. You remember it, Corey? It was a,
I,
it was an emotional
I
day.
do, but I don't know. I don't know who the person was.
I will, we'll drop that
Oh, yeah,
I'll
I
drop
do
that
know.
on a message to you separately, mate.
I do know who the person was. I
Yeah,
do
you
know
know
who
what
the
the
person
person
was.
was. So I
Yeah, yeah.
lost. And the person, if the person's listening, the person knows who that was as well.
Shame
No,
on you.
no hard feelings. It's happened to the best of us.
That's it. I mean, I remember in Scotland when mine, Rob's, and Susie, my soon-to-be wife, our first trip to Scotland a couple of years ago. Sorry, we were photographing the beavers at Knapdale Forest, and there was a buzzard sat just real nice on a perch, and me and Rob both got out to set the photos, and both our cameras were turned off, and both our cameras had a bloody setting reboot to start off with.
Done
So
that.
that
Been
balls
there.
out for us.
Been there. Done that. It's the most annoying thing ever.
It happens. But I mean, those early days trips, obviously looking at like where it all began, I think there's a point between taking photos of squirrels with your grandparents on an old camera, and then there's a
Hmm.
point of being full on. I mean, the efforts that we go to photograph wildlife now, obviously the money that we spend on trips and the places that we visit, that's somewhere. So, I mean, my first ever kind of big trip photographing wildlife was photographing red deer. Rob took me and Susie just before the first lockdown. Um, I mean, this has gone from. I mean, we used to go to Top Pillow all the time, and we used to go out and about photographing bits and bobs. But an actual species looking at, I mean, we went to photograph the red deer, and that was our first ever big trip. And I think from there on, we've never not done something. We went to Scotland later on that year, to the Isle of
Yeah.
Mull. We visited the Cairngorms and stuff like that. Photographed white-tailed seagulls, otters, beavers, red deer, red squirrel. I mean, there's not many bird species left in the UK that we haven't photographed. And it's those big trips that have definitely brought us to even to this podcast. I reckon if it wasn't for a lot of those big trips, then even this probably wouldn't be going ahead.
Yeah, it probably won't. I'm while you were talking, I was just trying to rack my brain of what my first big quotation marks trip was. I think it was the Cairngorms. I want to say
Beautiful place to Cairngorms.
it's a beautiful, beautiful place. Yeah, it must have been the Cairngorms in maybe 2018. Yeah, it'll have been
Speaking
2018. Yeah.
speaking of the Cairngorms, we're both actually. I mean, you're there next week. I'm there. Well, obviously, health permitting, I'm there the week after. Um,
If all goes to plan, yeah, this podcast will drop on the day that I go to the Cairngorms, which is quite
yeah,
exciting.
yeah. I mean, and weirdly enough, we're both going. We didn't plan these trips together. We didn't discuss these trips with each other, but we're both going for the same trips. We're both doing aiming for the same subjects. I don't want to give it away because I don't want to hype it up and then come back and we don't have the images. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's
absolutely. Yeah,
Scotland for
it's going to be
me is
exciting.
it's my it's somewhere I go and I feel more at home in Scotland than I do sat in my own living room.
Yeah, it is a wonderful, wonderful place. It's up there with my top sort of five favorite places to visit, and it's high
It
on
doesn't
that
even
list of five.
it doesn't even there's nothing that comes close to it for me. The Isle of Mull is I was first introduced to the Isle of Mull as just a general location in my first year of university with a friend that she does a lot of work on the Isle of Mull and she was living up there and stuff like that throughout the summer holidays of the university and stuff and just since then it's just become just such an important place for me. I absolutely love it.
It's a place that I've never actually managed to visit yet.
Well, I reckon all being well, we should do a trip to the Isle of Mull later on this year and
Mm.
do live podcasts from the Curse of Loch Spelv and the
Yeah,
beaches at
yeah, some nice live
Tobermory.
episodes would be great. Yeah, I'm
That'd be,
all over that. That's a quality idea. Um,
yeah, and
another
I'm sure.
Go on,
Go on.
mate.
Sorry, carry
Go
on.
on. I
Oh,
was just going to waffle about another location that I love, but yeah, go on.
I'm sure a lot of photographers will agree, and a lot of people that live on Mull. It's such a hot spot for wildlife as well, for wildlife photographers. I mean, I remember the first time we went, we got the ferry from Urban to Craignure, and I remember being sat on the boat and I get a tap on my shoulder and I look around, there's this woman there and she goes, I know you. And I was like, do you? And she was like, yeah, you fixed my bike for me a couple of weeks ago. So to give a bit of
Background.
what's the word? A bit of context here, a bit of background. I worked at Halford for 5 years, building, fixing bikes and stuff like that. And I just think this place is
Of
just it's
all the
400 miles
places,
away from
yeah, of
home.
all the places you could have come across somebody that recognized or knew you.
And then so to top that off, me and Rob were there in July this year, 2022, and we sat at the Missionish Bar and Pub, fantastic place to grub on Mull if you're in Tobermory. And what was we doing? Was we sat watching the football? Oh no, we was playing pool and we was chatting. And a woman next to me, she was like, "So, go on, what part of Hull are you from then?" And I was like, "How the hell?" And I looked and she had an LFC shirt on and a LFC hat and stuff like that. And I was just like, how do I go 400 miles away from home and still bump into people that are just from around the corner? And it's
There's an
because
easy,
Mull is a place
it's
that people love.
exactly just what I was going to say. The easy answer is it's an amazing place to visit.
Yeah, it's just, I think it just needs to be, I don't want it to get too popular, not because I want it to myself, because that's not the case at all, but the the community there is just so close and the wildlife is so delicate. We just don't want it to get out of hand and it just be swarmed all year round.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a fair view on that.
So that's I suppose on the topic of where it all began. That's where my love for Scotland began. Was that trip 3.5 years ago
Yeah,
now?
yeah, an amazing place in Scotland. Like you say, there's just so many like diverse areas up there. You've got the Cairngorms, you've got the whole of, the Glencoe area, and then you've got all the Isles, Shetland,
I love Glencoe.
all the way up to Unst on, Hermanus National Park, and then Mull, Lunga, all them places. Yeah, just truly amazing.
Lung- Lunga, fantastic island, really really nice.
I nearly booked last year. We're going off on a tangent again, but yeah, I nearly booked off last year to go to Lunga. In fact, and to Herman S, but yeah, it just never got sorted, never got organised. But that's because I'm
I'm not going to
useless at
humour.
organising things.
I'm not going to humour that conversation because otherwise we'll end up chatting about it for hours.
Yeah, yeah, don't entertain
So
that, please.
So let's. Oh, sorry. I don't know if I've done something on my phone there. I'm still here,
No,
right?
I can hear you. We'll cut that.
So I mean, moving on from kind of the early days, then obviously one of the topics that we had that I suppose we could end on, but we might as well discuss it now, is what it all means to us. And I suppose we've touched up on it a little bit with the mental health side of things. But Dan, wildlife photography and nature, what does it mean to you?
I get asked this a lot, and it's a
Yeah,
hard. I do, mate. I do get asked it a lot. If I do a
as
Q
the
and
delivery
A,
driver.
yeah, Deliveroo just rocks up at the door, dropping off a KFC. So what does it mean to you, mate? It's a hard one. We've touched mental health, and how it can, improve your mental health and an outlet for your mental health. Um, it's it's been something that's been instilled in me from a young age, from, like I've said, my grandparents. It's I love wildlife. I love being outside, but it's to make them. Oh, this sounds proper deep. Does this? It's to make them proud as well, because they instilled this in me. If it hadn't have been for my grandma lending me that camera, putting that trust in me to go leg it round a park at 10 years old with, 300 quid's worth of camera, then would I be here now? Probably not. Um, and I mean, it's just great in it. I mean, you'll back me up, Corey, when you say when I say when you get a photograph that you've been dreaming of for X amount of months, weeks, years, it's just a complete and utter adrenaline rush.
That's it, and it's emotional as well. I remember me and Rob being on Mull this year. I mean, I've been on Mull quite a few times and looked for otters left, right, and centre. Tried our hardest, and just to no luck. And I remember that moment that we had with a young dog otter coming to sit 3 feet away from us and just getting them photos. I was in that much shock and that much kind of disbelief. I didn't even get many good photos, but that moment alone for me
And
was just
it's sometimes the moment, and this is what I say to people, it's not the fact that you walk away with the image.
you walk away with the experience,
It
don't
can
you?
be the moment and the experience you shared. Now,
That's it. And
I don't profess to claim that I'm a fantastic landscape photographer, because that's not my realm. But it's like the Northern Lights last March, I think it was.
that was a
Yeah,
brilliant photo.
it
That was
was
fantastic photo.
just a moment that, I got the image, yeah, fair plays, but it was an experience and a moment that'll probably sit with me for the rest of my life. It's, quality. But yeah, to not go deep and off tangent, it's, yeah, it helps combat mental health. I just love being outside and to make the old folk proud.
That was very beautiful.
Thanks. That was yeah. It's so hard to answer it without going like proper deep and cheesy and, all that cringe, but yeah, there we go anyway. What about you, mate? What does I know we've touched, like you said, on mental health and, the outlet that
Uh,
being outside
I
had for
mean,
you and Susie's relationship, but go for it. Floor's yours.
going on to making people proud, obviously, the one thing that in my relationship is the fact that she constantly tells me she's proud of me and stuff like that, and that's something really nice to have. Obviously, you don't do it for an appreciation, do you? You do it for the love of it, but having that is definitely a motivation to keep at it.
I just
Um,
sorry to interrupt, mate, because you're gonna make me look horrifically terrible here. I just want to shout out to my partner as well, Jen, for supporting all that business, making her proud.
yeah,
Otherwise, I will not hear the end of it if you're
yeah.
talking about Susie.
Why did Corey talk about his girlfriend and you didn't talk
Yeah,
about
yeah,
me?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Just I've saved myself there. Yeah, shout out. Thanks.
Shout out to Jen.
Shout out Jen for putting up with alarms at 3 o'clock in the morning
But the thing is,
and
that's
being
it.
dragged to Bushy Park.
Susie, she does like I mean with the kids and stuff like that. I'm not gonna say she does a lot more than me because parenthood is it's not a competition, but the nitty gritty stuff like waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning with our youngest and stuff like that, it's stuff that she didn't even wake me up to do. Like she just gets up and does it, and then at the same time, an hour later she'll wake back up again for my alarms to get me up and out because she knows that it's good for me and stuff like that. Like say, it's good to have that in your life. But yeah, I mean, the stuff that it means for me is definitely that side of it. And then kind of similar to what you said in that moment, if there's one thing I've always had an interest in, it's animal behaviour, and to be able to go out and put that in an image and keep hold of it, that's enough motivation on its own for me.
Yeah.
Like if somebody told me, "Oh, next year you could, I don't know, go out and just capture that one bit of behaviour that you really want more than anything in the world. It's gonna be the best photo ever you've ever taken. You can be proud of it." I would leave my missus and kids in a heartbeat for that.
Yeah, it's
Oh, I mean, no, no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't, Gary, no. No, but
we'll
yeah,
cut
but
that.
yeah.
We can cut that, mate. We can bleep it. It's fine.
Oh,
They'll never
I'm not
know.
joking
They'll
about that.
never know.
I'm sure she can hear me. She's at the Teddy's fallen asleep now, and she's loitering somewhere.
Well, we'll rephrase it then. So leave the kids, dump them off, and then stay with Susie. Yeah, that's fair enough.
Oh yeah, the kids are the easy part.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
There you go. Sorted.
I love my kids very very much.
Good. I'm glad,
But,
mate.
but going on to the next part, I think having with my kids passing that knowledge on. Like we went to Mull last year, and my youngest Teddy, he was only he wasn't even one. He was 10 months old at the time, so it was a little bit different for him. But my eldest son Riley, he was 5 at the time, and just watching him, like when we saw the eagles and stuff like that, we saw an otter in the distance, seeing the excitement on his face and stuff like that. For me, it was just like such a proud dad moment. And like I can show him a photo now of a bird, and he'll know what it is. And Teddy, I can tell him an animal, and he can tell me what sound that animal makes. And to me, those are the things that
You're
I
inspiring the next generation.
the next generation.
It's
Yeah, hundred
beautiful.
percent. And
It's great.
I will force it upon my kids whether they like it or not. I mean, as soon as I get my driving license and that, my kids are going to be in tow for a lot of trips, especially my eldest. But the thing is, I know not by forcing it upon them, but having them around that life, they will grow up to be the same way as I am. And yeah, that's
That's how
important.
we started.
Yeah, I mean,
It comes full circle to a brand new
and do you know what?
generation.
I've had a lot of negativity from people in the past because I do this hobby and like you've got kids at home and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, yeah, but if I was at home all the time with my kids and or even when my kids are at school, if I was just at home all the time, I'd be a miserable person. By me having this, my kids have a dad that's happy and
Exactly.
has got something. People are allowed a life, and this is something really important, especially for wildlife photographers who put a lot of time and effort in. People are allowed a life outside of that, and that should be your motivation. Is if you've got kids, you want to be a happy person for them. Go out, take some photos, come home happy, and your kids have got a positive and loving role model in their life, which who are content in themselves.
Exactly. How beautifully put. They were both beautiful um stories. No, not stories. Reasons behind why photography means so much to us.
Yeah,
I'm awful with words. I'm gonna get a thesaurus. I'm gonna buy a thesaurus and I'm gonna research alternative words to that was beautiful.
what do you speaking of words? I've got a joke for you. Do you know what, every week I'm gonna do my favorite joke of the week?
Are these jokes that the elderly can listen to or
100%, yeah, because I'm a dad,
okay.
aren't I? They're all dad jokes.
Oh, perfect.
Um, I just need to make sure I tell this right because it's such a hilarious joke, and I just don't want to. I don't want to ruin it.
Yeah, you don't. Go on, the floor's yours, mate. Take it away.
Right, bear with me 1 second.
It doesn't
I've got it
count if you
saved.
start Googling them.
No, no, I've got it saved. I've got it saved in my gallery from earlier on. I can't tell that joke.
Yeah. But if you're laughing already, don't tell that one you've just seen, please.
What do you call a dinosaur with an extensive vocabulary?
Go on. Tell me.
Uh, a thesaurus.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, so you're gonna get one of them every single episode, whether we've got a guest on or not.
Do you know what? As it's the first episode, you can have a second one if you want. This is one of my
we're
favorite
treating you.
favorite
We're
dinosaur
treating you
jokes.
here. Go for it.
What do you call a dinosaur wearing a cowboy hat and boots?
I swear to God, I've heard this, but go on.
Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Yeah, wow, Jesus. Yeah, I'd like to say we're here all week, but yeah, we won't be quitting our day jobs for comedy, stand-up comedy.
Al-
Don't worry.
Although with the tangents that we go, we could well and truly be here all week.
Now, is are these the tangents that we go on our own planning calls, or the tangents that we can go on the podcast without getting a lawsuit?
Yeah.
That's the question for you.
Our tangents for when we're planning.
We discuss a lot, let's put it that way.
Yeah, and I
A
reckon if a
lot
few people
falls into
heard
the
us,
mix.
yeah, people who know me personally, my language is vulgar, and I'm doing my absolute best to keep it.
Yeah, you are doing really well. I feel like I need to get you a medal for not swearing for. I don't even know how long we've been recording for now, but you've done a sterling job, a sterling
I,
job.
I'm pleased. I'm very pleased. Oh, we've been recording for an hour.
Wow, and you've not sworn. Well, maybe once, but yeah, whatever.
That's good for me. That's
That's
good.
that's whatever. That's really good. It's good for us both.
Yeah, yeah, I'm happy. Right, so I think
So
we'll get to
go on,
the.
mate. I'm taking the show here. Go on.
It's the Dan show.
Oh, the dance show. Could you imagine if we'd called it that? The level of cringe, Jesus. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Let's start to wrap things up a little bit.
we've touched on our photography journey, what it all means to us. We were going to end with what it means to us, but it felt naturally. So Corey, what are your goals for this year? What's your 2023 goals? Just in a
But
nutshell.
oh, I can't do a nutshell, unfortunately. I can do a couple
We
of sentences.
go on then. Do a couple of sentences. I'll let you have that at least.
Obviously, we discussed this prior. My main goals are obviously I get married in a few months. My main goals is to finish the year not divorced and not dead.
Yeah,
Um,
that's I think that's a cracking start.
no, I think for me this year it's more about without sounding too cliche. I think finding myself as a photographer, having my own style, and obviously my biggest goal, which is more of a personal goal, is to learn to drive. I have my theory test in a couple of days. I will be driving soon, but that's going to open up more doors for me. And it's
Yeah.
just finishing the year happy, essentially. Looking back at my work and thinking, "Do you know what? I put a lot of graft into that. I'm happy with what I've done." Obviously, I've got trips planned for next year. So
Oh,
I'm
don't
this May.
if you're gonna drop the trip that I've got planned, keep it secret for a little while because I've told nobody.
Okay, well, I'm going to tell people the trip I've got for next year,
Go for
which is
it.
not the same, which isn't the same as your trip
It's
because it's a
not, no.
different trip.
It's a
No, so
different one.
next year I'm going across to Northern Europe to a
Mm.
little country called Finland,
Little,
and I will be
it's bloody massive.
I will be spending 7 days, hopefully, fingers crossed. Anyways, this is yet to be confirmed, but going across to photograph the brown
It's
bears.
browns, yeah, European brown
Yeah,
bear.
over in Finland for the rutting, the bear rut, which I was originally going to do the September trip, which was the Golden Light trip, but I
Yes.
think I want a bit more action. Obviously,
Oh, that'll be amazing.
we might now actually be going to Mull this year, which would be a good trip for us if we can get something sorted for that. That'd be fantastic. What other trips have I got coming up?
You got Scotland coming up in a couple of
Oh,
weeks.
I can't forget. I'll go to Scotland in 2 weeks' time. I'm sure I'll be back in Scotland a few times this year. But
Yeah.
go on, Dan. What's your goals and trips you've got coming up that you can tell us, anyways?
Trips, there's literally the Cairngorms next week. That is all I have got booked and sorted for this year. Obviously, I'll do Bushy Park. I imagine at some point as well for the
Oh
day
yeah, of
rut.
course. Yeah, I forgot about that one. Yeah,
You
Bushy
know,
Park.
we'll get down there at some point this year. Goals. It's like you say, ending
Is
the
it not to fall out with anybody?
that's I mean that's a goal, but it's not going to happen because I've already failed 30 days into January.
So to those that
Not
so if
my
you,
fault. I'd like to add
those
in
that
that it's
don't
not
know,
my fault.
Dan is the most hated man in the British wildlife photography hobby.
I
Um,
would say that's accurate.
his block list is it's long.
My name
Yeah,
appears on a lot of blocked lists as well, I imagine. which is
Correct.
probably longer than the people that I have blocked. It's all fun and games. It is all fun and games. So yeah, try not to fall out with many people. That's probably a good place to start. And like you said, mate, the ending the year with a portfolio you can look back on and know that you've put a great deal of effort into it. And I'm not saying that every photo, that someone takes has to be, meticulously planned. Some of the best images can happen spontaneously when you're wandering along your local canal. But yeah, it's always nice to look back on your cliche top nine on Instagram. And seeing how this year was different to last year, and obviously the podcast. I think that's a pretty big goal. Getting some proper
That's
traction
becoming
on
more of
this.
a reality, though, isn't it? I mean, we're doing so
It,
well
it
already.
is. It is. I mean, this is the only. Can't get my words out. This is only the first episode. If you want the proper name. Um. So yeah, we'll see how it goes, mate. But yeah, it's slowly becoming a reality after being such a. I don't want to say a pipe dream, but this little thought floating around in my head for various months. But yeah, just seeing
That's
it
it.
grow and seeing it succeed and having the
You don't have kids, do you?
conversations. I don't have kids, no. I don't
There we
know.
go. The podcast is your new child.
The podcast is my new child. Seeing
I'm
it
the
grow,
uncle.
seeing it succeed. It could very well be the funeral as well after this hour-long episode. Jesus. It could
Yeah.
it could die as quickly as it started. But we have
No.
got an entire series of guests lined up. So whether it
Which
dies or
you're all
whether it
legally
whether
bound to
it
come on.
doesn't die, they are still coming on. You will still
Yeah.
listen to interviews with various amazing people and amazing photographers and amazing conservationists. So I think that sums up my 2023. I have a big trip planned this year, but like I alluded to earlier, I am keeping it a secret till I'm there. That is all I'm going to say on that matter.
I don't think he'll do that there. I think knowing
I
you,
I am struggling massively to keep it secret. Obviously, my family know. Um, Shout out to some of them for helping me go, for paying for it. Cheers.
is it already paid for?
Yeah, all paid for. I just need to sort my flights. There you go. There's a little hint. It's not in the UK, so some of you listening will know, like you, Corey, and
Well, yeah, you've
some
already told me, haven't you?
some people that I work with might also know. Um, just because they've caught me flicking through the page whilst I was booking it. But um, yeah, it's going to be an exciting year, mate. I think it's going to be a great year. We definitely need to find the time to get out more
Yeah, because I
together.
actually think we've only met in person 4 times.
It's definitely not no more than five. I can count on one hand the amount of times.
So there was the long-eared owls.
Top Hill though, we dipped her, didn't we? A bit.
Yeah. You popped into Mix Hyde,
Yeah, I popped in to drop your amazing, if I might add, 2023 calendar off, which I am,
which is still in its
which I,
wrapping on my
oh,
on my table.
you've not even opened it.
No, do you know how many I'm a wildlife photographer. Do you know how many calendars I got bought for Christmas?
you've lost an entire month of amazingness.
No, I'm gonna put that open and I'm gonna actually use that for the podcast.
That's a cracking idea. We can write our dates and stuff in it of when we're recording and who we have on. What a
Yeah.
wonderful idea.
There we go. I'll get that sorted tomorrow. Because I know I'm housebound for at least another 2 or 3 days, so I can find something fun to do with my time. I'll sort out your calendar and yeah, we'll
Sweet.
have that. I'll do my podcast calendar.
Love that. I absolutely love that. That's great. But yeah, that's pretty much it for my 2023. Exciting things ahead. Yeah, great trips, spontaneous trips as well. I quite like them. So yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
they're
see
quite good.
we'll see how the year goes. Sometimes it doesn't happen the way you want it to, but that's because
I will make
other amazing things can happen in its place.
I will make sure a Wild Talk podcast mull trip happens this year. because I really want to go back. You've
Yeah,
never been. I'd
please
love to be the
force me
one.
because I've spoken or I've chatted with myself, should I say, about it for probably the past 4 years, and I've
That's it,
just
and I'd love
never
to be
got
the one
round
that
to it.
takes your mole virginity from you as
Thank
well.
you very much. That
I've got,
sounds
and the thing is, I've still got after visiting there so many times, I've got a lot of good friends on that island as well. So it'd be good to introduce you to them and
yeah.
just go see the wildlife. It's just there's no better place. Susie will agree with me. I'm trying to think when it was. When did we get them? Susie, when did we get those cream cheese bagels, salmon cream cheese bagels? Was it the first trip with Rob? So when we went for the first time, we went to a cafe in Tobermory and they
Mm.
did salmon cream cheese bagels and bloody hell, we haven't found anything even remotely. They were so expensive. Susie just said how expensive they were. Um, and there's nothing that even comes close to that. So like I could have a full week of no wildlife and still, as long as I get one of the salmon and cream cheese bagels from the cafe in Tobermory, I'm happy.
Sounds winning, mate. Sounds great. And yeah, like you say, we'll do some live episodes. Go live on our various social medias as well while we're out there. Get some of
Yeah,
you in,
it's
get some of you on for a Q&A, drop us some questions and all that fun
well, I'll take you to Lung.
stuff.
Well, I'll take you. Well, a boat will take us to Lunga because weirdly, even though you're a couple of miles off the coast of Mull, you get fantastic signal on Lunga for some reason.
Even better, we'll do a live stream with the puffins then.
Yeah,
Sounds
I
good.
think that's uh, I think that's a good idea. I
And
don't.
that pretty much, unless you've got anything else to add, mate, rounds up episode one.
Oh, I mean, there's so much more I could add, but there'd be no need for guests, then really, would there?
Yeah, we'd never need to film another episode. It would be just one done. That's it.
Yeah, just one long episode. Yeah, we'll do that one day. We'll do a 24-hour live stream episode.
That sounds horrific.
Awful. Yeah, it sounds awful.
It does sound truly awful, doesn't it?
But yeah, I'm very very happy to call it a day
Spend
on this
to
one.
call it there. Yeah, that's been
Yeah,
hopefully a good introduction. You can cut that, please, because I'm waffling now. Hopefully, that's been a great introduction to the podcast, to myself and to Corey's sort of photography journey, where it all started, what it means to us.
can I
Of
just really quickly interrupt?
course, you can.
Oh, while you're sat choking on your words, I have my partner just sat there next to me, laughing because she doesn't think you're okay because you keep stumbling on your words.
I'm okay. I'm
Yeah,
good.
she, yeah, we've spoken a lot. We've spoken a lot. I've
This
just
has
made a
been
podcast
like
a lot.
an hour, and for the audience, I have had a lovely IPA as well whilst we've been recording. Maybe we make that our thing, mate. We each bring a different beer to our
Well, I am teetotal, so I
You
will
can
bring
bring a juice or something.
that's it. I am now lactose free as well. So I will bring a different type of oat milk.
You do that, mate. You bring a different non-alcoholic and non-lactose drink to each podcast we film together, not the guests, because
Well, actually, no.
that's a bit weird.
You bring your beer, and I'll bring my dad joke.
Right, there we go.
Oh, just
That's good.
just before I forget as well, photo of the week.
Yes. Shall we pick our photo of the week? Because this is going
Oh,
out on Friday.
we have two new submissions as well.
Let me attempt to get signal in my bunker that is my office. Um,
I mean, there's
I've
two.
I've I've already picked mine,
Yeah, I mean, I had already pre-picked mine as well, and it wasn't my image.
and it's
Shall I?
not mine either.
Shall I tell you who my image is?
Yeah, you tell me who yours is, and I reckon ours will match.
So for me, my photo of the week goes to Simon Pendry with his barn owl image. I think the photo's very nice and crisp and clean. Really good detail on the bird. Just really nice photo. He's got his settings on there, which is quite informative, which is something a lot of people could do with. And looking at his settings as well, he's done a fantastic job to capture the quality of the bird using the shutter speed that he has. So yeah, that's my photo of the week.
And I actually agree with you, mate. It's quite refreshing to see a barn owl image exposed correctly against the blue sky, which is not
Yeah,
always the easiest thing to do.
and
And like
sharp as well.
yeah, and like you say, them shutter speeds coupled with the ISO, I think yeah, it's a cracking image to get with such a low shutter speed. And the wing movement's quite nice. Um,
Yeah, it's good to have a bit of motion blur. I just
so
do want to
yeah,
give a special mention. It was quite tough for me to choose, but
it was,
there was a series of otter images by
yeah,
Mark Orich Photography,
yeah.
taken on Mull. I just think they're beautiful as well. I absolutely love them. So that's my
It's
special
a
shout
hard one
out.
to
Is that.
pick because I think I could just shout out everybody that's submitted photos. I mean, Alex and Jesse's photograph of the kingfisher is just beautiful.
It's simple, isn't
It's a
it?
good environmental image. There's not a lot going on. Your eyes drawn straight away to the colourful subject. In amongst all the neutral tones. So yeah, it's beautiful. But yeah, shout out everybody. There's some stunning images on there. Really stunning
And I've
images.
got what we're going to do is as well. When we've got guests on, we're going to get them to choose the photo of the week too. So that'll be interesting for us.
Yeah, so yeah. Congratulations to whoever's image or photo of the week Meg chooses, because that's pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that'll be a big one. I'm going to um I'm going to pop Simon's photo up now as photo of the week.
Smashing, well done, Simon. If you're listening to this, congratulations. Great image.
Well, I'm happy to call it there. It's been a
I
good.
think that's rounded everything, mate. It's been great. Great first episode.
Yeah, I mean we've definitely got off subject a lot, but
That's fine. That's what post editing's for. It's all right. We
yeah,
we can cut down a little bit of time.
yeah, maybe, but I don't know.
You can cut me stumbling over my words every 20 minutes. That's fine.
We'll see. I might just whack it all up and be happy with it.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, hope everyone's enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you very much for listening.
Yeah, thank you very much for listening. We'll be back next week after my
Yes,
trip to the Cairngorms, where we've got Chris Reed from Space Side Snaps on.
yes, that is. I'm very much looking forward to that one.
I am. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that, and our first guest as well. So even more exciting.
Cool. Well, that'll do from me.
That'll do from me. Nice one.
It's been nice sitting and have a good chat with you.
Yeah, it's been nice, mate. It's been nice to have a chat about where we've come from, where it began.
It has, without going on too much. It's been good. But yeah, thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions that you want us to ask to Chris, and his Gospel card, we'll pop up a post on Instagram. Probably the next couple of days, and you can pop them on there. But until then, I shall see you all soon.
Catch you later, guys. Peace.